Good morning, everybody. We're here for the Monday, June 5th Board of Variance meeting. And the meeting is opened at 9:50. 9:50, yes. And we start with approval of the agenda. So, Rick or Chris, approval of the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Okay, we approve the agenda. Then we move on to item number 2, which is adoption of the minutes of the Board of Variance meeting on April 13th. This was regarding channel view, I believe, and the minutes are attached. I approve them because I kind of reread them before, steps and them out. Okay. So, go ahead.
Move to adopt.
Okay, so that the minutes are unanimously approved of the channel view meeting. Then public comments, item 4.2, and that actually says, it says 3, but it refers to 4.2, right, Steph?
Yeah, so that's just the template is normally happens at 3, but in Board of Variance it happens after the
At 4.2.
presentation. Yeah.
Okay, so public comments are at 4.2. Okay, then new business. This is the Board of Variance meeting today, which is 1121 Miller Road. And the Board of Variance application has been submitted for a variance to reduce the side setback and rear setback for the retroactive development of an accessory building. And it is followed by item 4.1, which is the presentation by Natasha John, Island Community Planner. Natasha, go ahead.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Yep, stuff.
You guys see this?
Okay.
Good. Okay, awesome. So as you know, my name is Natasha Chong. I'm the Island Community Planner, and today I will be presenting on a Board of Variance retroactive application for an existing accessory building to vary the rear and side setback at 1121 Miller Road. Okay. So 1121 Miller Road is just north of the Snug Cove area and south of the Little Red Church at the intersection of Collins Farm Road and Reed Road, along with Miller Road. The zoning is Settlement Residential 2. And the land use bylaw zoning designations that are to be potentially varied today is the minimum setback from side lot line of 3 meters. And the minimum setback from the front and rear lot line is 7.5 meters. So the accessory existing building is approximately 22 square meters. And so this is including the actual accessory building, which is approximately 12 square meters, inclusive of the covered patio, which is just under 10 square meters. And so the proposed side setback is 2.52 meters. And as a reminder, this is to be varied from the 3 meters existing setback. And the rear existing setback, as I mentioned, is 7.5 meters. And this is proposed to be varied by to 3.48 meters. So there are multiple reasons as to why this applicant is requesting the retroactive Board of Variance application. First and foremost, it's to legitimate the residential guest accommodation use for the accessory building. So currently they have a non-conforming RGA. And in order for them to attain a business license, they need this variance. Ultimately, this is a retroactive Board of Variance application. However, any existing, or I should say, any movement of the accessory building would trigger a variance. Other reasons are there's no impact to sightlines to the adjacent neighbors. Also, the current owner purchased the property with the knowledge that the accessory building could be used as a residential guest accommodation to supplement their income. They have a covered patio, which provides shelter over the doorway during inclement weather. So these are just some photos from the site visit. And as you can see, this is the accessory building. The first photo is from the front. The second photo, you can see more of the side setback and the rear. And then the bottom photos are looking at the rear setback and the side setback. So the support letters that we received 3 in total. And as you can see, 2 of the adjacent neighbors are in support. The 1137, so the neighbor directly behind the subject property, we did not receive any comment from them. And then a neighbor to the east, 1127, is also in support. In terms of alternate locations, none have been identified as feasible possibilities, given the location of the septic field. And as I mentioned, any form of modification or movement of the accessory building would also trigger a variance. And as a reminder, so for the Board of Variance checklist, these are permitting minor variances, variances that have undue hardships. Obviously, the applicant or any person notified has the opportunity to speak about this. And then finally, the variance should not cause any form of inappropriate development, adverse impacts on the environment, substantial impacts to neighbors. And then we cannot, or you cannot vary permitted uses or densities, and the intent of the bylaw should not be defeated. So I will now take questions.
Sorry, is there an outline of the septic fields on the plan anywhere?
Yes. So on the site plan. And also in attachment 2, I believe.
Sorry. Over there now.
There you are. Chris? You can see better there.
I've got it here too.
It's big enough, right? Okay. Okay. Okay, are there, I don't have any specific questions at this moment. Chris, Rick, are there any questions for Natasha? No? Okay, Natasha, thank you very much for your presentation. Very clear, appreciate it. So then we move on
Why? Can you hear me, Steph?
Sorry, I'm just trying.
Oh, there we go. I can hear you now. That's good.
The newspaper often comes late if it's delivered by mail. My name is Lynn Valviciola.
You have to help me there. Lynn with the Y or not? Y and
Lynn, L-Y-N.
okay, yeah.
My last name is Brown. Liz Valviciola.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, maybe we start over.
Okay. This was issued in June 1st newspaper, the Undercurrent. It came into my box on Friday. I read it on Saturday. Sunday, I wrote an email because this is a submission for public comment. As you can see, this is the lovely illegible outline. So I looked at the website. Exactly the same thing is on the website. If you enlarge it, I cannot read it. Neither could my husband. We public comment at the same time as Steph noted earlier, there was a house fire on Friday, which completely demolished a long-standing house, well, not the longest, but anyway, house on Bowen. And when I saw this, I thought it's very important that this is a retroactive variance, meaning that the work has already been done. Respect for community means that we do things, our regulations are set for safety reasons, for you all know this. If the work has already been done, I thought somebody needs to say, maybe not, maybe that variance could cause a house fire like happened in Constable Bay to affect more than one building. These are my thoughts. So I wrote an email, Natasha got it. I received this morning at 9:02, a reply that said, I'm sorry, you're too late. The submission closed Friday. The only option then is for you to come and speak at the meeting, and I got that notice, as I said, at 9, and I was here by 9:02. I wasn't even dressed when I got the notice. I'm speaking about respect. Public comment is respect. Thank you. Time and appropriate notification that you can read what you're supposed to comment is necessary, that you can consider it and have time for all the various aspects to take place is what I'm asking, because we don't have anything. We don't have our community. That's my belief.
Okay, so some of this is about process, right? And process is really the goal line in municipality. It's not for variance, but would you staff provide any application now on how it has been published?
So I would turn to Natasha for just Board of Variance regulation. Is it 2 newspapers it's supposed to be in?
It's 2 newspapers.
So that would have been in the one before.
It was Thursday, so this previous, I think, June 1st and May 25th.
Thursday, June 1st and May 25th.
Yeah, and so I emailed the app or the individual who's speaking right now. Sorry, is it Lynn? Yeah, so I received her or their email this morning because it was sent last night, and messaged them back notifying them that unfortunately the deadline has passed, which was this Friday or last Friday, and that their options were to come and speak to the board at 9:30. So just give,
Comment on the readability of the-
sorry, could you speak up a little?
But can you also respond to how readable the proposed development is in the paper and online?
Readability.
Thank you. Sorry, yeah.
I was looking at you. Well, I was looking at the mic.
I can hear staff.
But anyway, Natasha, can you also please explain how readable the printed version in the undercurrent should be? And Lynn also noticed that online the same submission cannot be understood.
So in terms of the public notice, what is available for the public, we state the actual date, what the variance is, and then if they want to make a public comment, we provide the options as in written submissions, verbal comment. In addition, if they would like further information, we always encourage people to come into the municipality to review the entire application.
The applicant, the comment is that the material provided for public notice was illegible, which I totally agree, because we've just been presented with a copy of it here, and the version online was also illegible. Certainly that's the municipality's responsibility to make the material circulated understandable.
Sorry, are you saying illegible as in you cannot read it, or just the actual?
The diagram is illegible. It's not, it's too faint. You can't read it.
Oh, okay, so that if it's too faint, that's something that I'll have to look into, because that's
It's something that we, as the board, as the municipality, should review before a public comment brings it to our attention.
so for sure, I agree with you there. But with the actual public notices, it goes through our review. Our manager looks at everything, and then things are sent out to the undercurrent for publication, and we post it on the webpage.
So this is just a simple example of insufficient review.
Well, I will have to look at the actual copy that's published.
Can I also, you will have to look at the actual copy that's published, and you will also have to think about when, yes, 2 copies of the newspaper is fine, but 2 copies when the last copy is less than 24 hours before final submission has to be made is not fine.
Okay.
Needs to be done further ahead of time.
Where would that decision be made?
So what Natasha's been describing is our community charter legislation. So I'm sure that she will take these comments into consideration and speak to the planning department and the communications department and reflect on what we can do to improve.
Yeah, because everything is enshrined in our development approvals bylaw. And so I can definitely talk to my manager and take it from there.
May I just ask if your property is affected? You're
No,
acting as a citizen, right?
yes,
Yes.
and the first thing I stated is that I have known people involved.
Mhm.
I am not a neighbor. We are all neighbors, but I'm not a close neighbor to this property. But I do think it's my responsibility to think about and consider as a community member, and that wasn't possible in this case.
Well, I'm sure we all thank you for that.
Oh,
Yeah. So this is for moving forward, right? If the municipality accepts that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
thank you.
And then the current meeting can proceed because we're meeting the current department.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So, very good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So then we go to 4.3, and it's the opportunity for the applicant to speak to the board.
Thank you. So, I just have a few things to say. The building existed when we bought the property. Now, the deck, we added on a little bit, but the building itself, the deck lasted, it was that. I said, so the building setback, that's what we bought. I was thinking, mom, so better than deciding to open up the business. There was no regulations, and I also had no need about that. So as it stands, my little Airbnb, how I can mortgage, and it allows me to be available to my son. It's my own name. And without it, I would put in a position where I would do like school, if I had to give up my main income, working 5 years for nothing. But I believe I was something with 12 years. And I don't think I'm not suggesting anybody would be considering that, but I'm just saying that's my position. Also, this is the bathroom. So it's the most accessible Airbnb on the island. If it's only $65 a night, so they're trying to get that. They say, hey, the village has to be cheaper.
Yeah. The 4.4, board of variance discussion.
So when did you know that the existing structure was non-compliant?
Let's see, so all the regulations of licensing and everything, came to have, a few years ago. So I received an email, last summer in the process of, like, getting license. And the business festival was like too, and at the very last minute, I think it's just half the said, no, give to us. We started rolling. The little vacuum bucket. That was during COVID. So my friend's dad was have a business.
So that would add to the non-compliance then.
That is the non-compliance. You don't believe that. Yeah, that would add.
I guess I'm a little confused when it's mentioned in there that the structure couldn't be put anywhere else because of the septic field, but when I look at the plan, the septic field seems to be a long way from the structure.
That's not something I know about. It's not a thing that I have received.
The deck could have been put in that direction instead of at the front. Yeah, I guess anything you add to it is adding to the non-compliance anyway. But if the new structure is compliant.
That's in front of the front door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it wasn't in front of the front door, it would be on the side of the window.
Doesn't have a dimension to that depth to the side yard. I would imagine that would meet the requirement because of the angle of the property.
Rick, can I just make a comment here?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe that the addition actually doesn't fit in the setback. Because if you take the reduced the existing setback, and you have the distance with the depth of the former structure, right, with the little approach. And then, if you calculate it, it's 0.2 meters this much into the setback. But normally, a structure like that is actually measured in posts.
Yeah.
So if the post is 0.2 meters. On the side, if you look at the picture that Natasha showed, right, from the front, right, the second picture you can see quite clearly how the structure is actually shifted there. And on top of that, how do you say that, the second line is angled there, right? So if you look at it, in my mind, the addition does not sit in the setbacks, but it is an addition, although it is a piece of structure there, right? So in a way, I think, well, I would think that for that reason, the added structure would not need to be moved to be confined. Yes, for the calculation, I just noticed that I went to the property from.
There's an issue in the other direction too, right?
No, because so in the if you look at the rear setback, which needs to be 7.5 meters. If you deduct the depth, like in the length of the lot, right, of the cottage, right, then that's almost 4 meters. You know what I mean? So if you add it up, I'm not sure if I'm saying the code correctly, right? Then I came to the conclusion that it's only 0.2 meters in the 7.5. If you take, I guess, 7.3, and you've got these numbers, allowed to say answers I did. And then so then on the side yard, it's kind of a range because the structure, the covered deck is actually not in line with the north side of the cottage. It is moved. If you look at the photograph, it's really clear because it's a shed roof and the living goes down on the side. You just kind of picks up a bit about the existing. But it doesn't mean that still needs a board approval. Natasha explained that because it's for the use of the existing cottage, and it is needed for licensing the permit to run. For
Variance pertains to the use rather than the variance rather than the setback.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
If
I
you
was
do, yeah.
told that I'll just get a building permit. The building only exists, but I need a permit because of the use of the building. So, and that's where the
Okay.
this comes from.
I see.
Get the permit because it's being occupancy.
Yeah. So we're still without a building permit? The addition is started.
So the cottage itself is there when I got the house,
But we're saying,
but then the porch in the front.
But no, that's not, I think what I do, I read part of Natasha's report. It says proposed variance. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the side setback from 3 meters to 2.5 meters and the rear setback from 7.5 to 3.5 meters for the approval of the business license to continue operating a residential guest accommodation. This is a retrospective application as the accessory building in question was constructed prior to the incorporation of the municipality and thus is subject to an existing non-conforming use. The covered patio extension, 2.5 meters times 3.66 meters, however, was constructed in 2021. The subject site has a total accessory floor area of 36.5 meters and is permitted 160 square meters amount. Additionally, existing lot coverage of 157 meters square is within the permitted 179 meters lot coverage. The unit is currently permitted to operate as an unlicensed residential guest accommodation due to a conditional agreement granted to non-compliant residential accommodations prior to enacting Bowen Island's municipal short-term rental policy. The condition permits residential guest accommodation in non-compliant units contingent upon the owner continuing to work with the municipality to address the non-compliance. The existing development is within the permitted lot coverage and number of accessory buildings. So that kind of answers the question why the Board of Variance relaxation is required to basically continue that existing use. And here are the numbers because if you look at it, so what I just did, right? From the setback, right? So the setback is the side setback from 3 meters to 2.5, right? So you took a half meter. Well, obviously the covered deck is far more than half a meter from the north elevation of the park, right? So that definitely sits in the 3 meters. Not in the 3 meter setback, sorry. And then the rear setback is 7.5 meters to 3 meters. So it's a 4 meter relaxation, right? But then the cottage itself is 3.7 meters long, right? So if I take 4 meters minus 3.7, I actually don't get 0.2, but I get 0.29 meters. You know what I mean? And that's why I said, well, then there's a post there, and I don't know how far the post is from the building, but now we're talking about so much detail. You know what I mean? So I thought that from the numbers, you actually see that it implies that it's not in the required setback. We're into the discussion of the board, right? So then, are there any more questions? Okay, no. So I don't have any questions because I visited the property and I read it and all that, and I thought it was very well presented by Natasha. And then before you have to formulate a wait a second now. So how to believe item 5, because we have to make a resolution. Item 5.
5 was just information items. But I can put the community charter criteria on.
That's the screen now.
Yeah, hope we do.
So in the report from Natasha, of course, there were already a number of
She included the same criteria.
yeah, but she wrote down a whole number of reasons why. Yeah, if you go through that, this is page 8.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
the variance legislation.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I read it out. Board of Variance legislation, the jurisdiction of the Board of Variance is laid out in the Local Government Act, section 542. 1 states 542, number 1. On an application under section 540, the Board of Variance may order that a minor variance be permitted from the requirements of the applicable bylaw, or that the applicant be exempted from section 531 alteration or addition while non-conforming use continues if the board of variance does the following. A, has heard the applicant and any person notified under section 541, which we have just done, right? Then B, find that under hardship would be caused to the applicant if the bylaw for section 531 is complied with, and so that's the hardship, but then it just ends item C, which I think we're going to read first. Is, and if the board is of the opinion that the variance or exemption does not do any of the following. One, result in inappropriate development of the site. Two, adversely affect the natural environment. Three, substantially affect the use and enjoyment of adjacent land. Four, carry permitted uses and densities under the applicable bylaw. Five, defeats the intent of the bylaw. Now, so in our resolution, it normally starts with whereas, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the board,
Yeah.
right? Items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In my mind, are correct. If you agree, maybe read those, then they can be included in the board of variance resolution. Is that correct? So,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. So I read them again. Okay. So so what you read at the beginning of 522, right? If you see 5311, it says alteration or addition while non-conforming use continues if the board of variance. And you go to C, and it says 1. If the board of variance is of the opinion that the variance, for example, does not do any of the following. 1. Result in inappropriate development of the site. I think it's good. It's okay, right? It's okay. Okay, so all, I agree with that as well. So the board unanimously agrees with the report of Madam Clerk. Item 2, adversely affect the natural environment. Yeah, I think that the reason for that is that it doesn't unnecessarily disturb lot area, and it doesn't unnecessarily do transition recycling in that way. Item 3, substantial effect the use and enjoyment of adjacent lands. So here, of course, we can refer to the 3 levels. The 4 letters. Yeah. So the big. Yeah. Okay. So again, unanimously agreed upon with the board. 4, very permitted uses and densities under the applicable bylaw. I think it goes back to the settlement of the bylaw, and frankly, obviously, there could be more development from the smart. So anyway, so do you agree? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Again, Steph.
So that's the very permitted uses.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we agree to that. Defeat intent of the bylaw. Now it's not exactly which bylaw to refer to. Is that the same settlement residential, or is this one of the bylaw?
Yeah. The land use bylaw, the zoning that it's under.
Okay.
Right, Natasha?
Well.
Yeah.
I normally find that the introduction of the residential zone is normally that it refers to the residential character, right? So, it's a word defeating it. Okay.
So I've put in brackets residential character.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there are a few other things that I've picked up, which may be relevant.
Oh, no, sorry.
We address the undue hardship clause.
That, of course, there's hardship in various ways, right?
Right.
We first go back to the hardship that Catherine right? Because one of them is in a way, it's more like it's financial, but it's, the impact is much more than financial, honestly. I agree with some of the conditions.
I have my sons and he will be.
Yeah, so we can say, whereas the applicant has demonstrated that the income is essential for to carry for the family.
So whereas,
Yeah, because the board of variance normally doesn't take financial, but it's more the impact. I think
demonstrated that the impact.
it's
There is a community social aspect. So beyond
Denying the variance would
family.
cause.
Yeah, it's fair for the family and for the son to participate in.
So I think that it's complying with that 342B, 341B. And that's it, that's all the conditions.
Yeah.
You can add some enhancements if you. thought of some.
We do address hardship traditionally.
Yeah, well, so I think
So is this wording okay? Whereas the applicant has demonstrated that the impact of denying the variance would cause undue hardship to her family?
well, it is true, but I don't know if they have to be more specific, but it is true. Anybody would question that, then it's a huge thing.
Is that wording okay, or do you want me to change it?
I think it's okay. I wouldn't mind. But if you want to add any detail, it's for the son to be able to continue
And that her son,
their school curriculum.
Participate in the community as their family has.
able to continue his current education. Was that?
I would
Learning center?
We never get a chance to turn one of these down. We should have one of those.
Your very first one you did.
Yeah, that first.
We can talk about that offline.
They should throw that down.
Okay, guys. Okay, so we addressed the hardship. Yeah.
I don't want to go back to staff. We also discussed that there is no alternative location for the accessory building. So
And that would go under,
we confirmed that
that's under hardship. Okay.
Put it somewhere else. And then we can put it there.
And that there is no alternative location for the accessory building.
I'm sure if you added this, that, we just discussed it with the calculations that I gave, that we covered patio, is not in the required setback.
Isn't that in her report?
Sorry?
Isn't that in the report?
In the report that we checked it, and correct.
Okay,
So
and
that's
it is
what-
confirmed.
The
Okay.
point is that you don't necessarily have to, the variance application only refers to the existing project.
Mhm,
And we believe as the board
mhm.
that the covered patio is not part of that because it's not included in the required setback.
Okay,
You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
the idea that it's still later, purposely in a setback is not.
okay.
Maybe in a building permit issue.
It could be.
So I don't think, I wouldn't even mention it.
Well, I don't know, because it's true, and, if they, I don't mind not mentioning, because I wouldn't want unnecessarily it to be returned to the building department. And then that would have to apply for a building permit for the small,
Yeah, retroactive.
So,
Yeah, so what's your proposed? We want this to be the final word of this thing, right?
yes, but it's
This variance should cover any of these and stuff like that.
yes, but typically, if something would facilitate approval by the board, then we're not approved.
Yeah.
Now, if we say that we don't approve it, obviously this is all
Okay, these are open.
being recorded anyway. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that if it's not necessary because we approve the variance anyway, then I'm all for leaving it out.
So leave it out?
Huh?
Leave it out?
Leave it out.
Okay, so I have what we have up here. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I'm gonna do it therefore be it resolved. Okay. Rick, do you want to read that out? Can you see from there? Bigger. Whereas the applicant has demonstrated that the impact of denying the variance would cause undue hardship to her family in that her son would not be able to continue his current education at Island Discovery Learning Center, and that there is no alternative location for the accessory building. And whereas the board agrees with the report that the variance does not result in inappropriate development of the site, and whereas the variance does not adversely affect the natural environment, and whereas the variance does not substantially affect the use and enjoyment of adjacent land, does not vary permitted uses and densities under the applicable bylaw, and whereas the variance does not defeat the intent of the bylaw of residential character, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Variance application number BOV 2022-0235, 1121 Miller Road, to reduce the side setback and rear setback for the retroactive development of an accessory building be allowed based on the criteria indicated in section 5421 of the Local Government Act.
The staff will say residential character, whereas the variance is not being intended to violate residential character. Do you make a single family character? Single family development.
Single family
Neighborhood character.
neighborhood character.
Yeah.
Natasha, are you okay with it? Can you see it?
Yep, I guess with my suggestion would maybe just be the settlement residential zoning instead of the
Okay.
single family neighborhood, just to specify that it's a settlement residential neighborhood.
Settlement residential. Sorry.
That's fine, zoning, yeah, neighborhood,
Zoning,
because it's just that specific, yeah, area of the
Okay.
bylaw that's being varied.
okay,
I'm just wondering when we say that it can't be located in your site.
Well, this one question for Natasha. I kind of think that if the septic field is located, right, as a rectangular block, you're an architect and there's typically a zone around it, typically field instead of backup field even. So I'm just not, I just don't know how you determine, okay, but where's the field? Is it exactly in the area, this box survey, or is it just put in?
Probably has not been surveyed.
Yeah, that's what, you know what I mean, and then how you set back to, you know?
That was my original question, and if that's the location of it, that's set, we use the 10 feet beyond that, or anything else. So we need to do it, I'm not suggesting that.
I think we can deal with how if we feel that is not,
I don't think you change the intent of the variance.
yeah, because you can argue that, you know, if I see that as simple rectangular shape like that, then I know, you cannot tell that it's not surveyed and it's not necessarily correct. Right. It's mostly in the area.
I don't just, when we say it, you don't know, right, where the field is, but shouldn't say it.
I think you're right. I would like to talk because if it's really somebody who says, well, you do the homework, actually look at the field.
Yeah, or you could, yeah,
We don't think it's necessary, so then why would we put it in?
Natasha, they're saying that the septic field location may be a little bit questionable, so they want to take that out of the resolution.
not take out the location of the septic field, but the resolution doesn't necessarily need to contain reference to there not being any other
Location,
alternative location.
okay, delete.
No, that's what it is.
So you were like, oh, right?
You guys gotta move and second this and vote on it.
Okay, I move that we accept the proposed variance as drafted.
You call all in favor?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And I think you just wanna,
Oh, we have to do.
you're back to your agenda.
Yeah. Done that.
Mhm.
So information items, 5.1, which is a very important document for the
Mhm.
municipality,
Yep.
is the 2023 to 2026 Rolling Island Municipality Council Strategic Plan. Now, I don't know if it relates to the board here.
We just keep that as an information item for all the committees, so you guys are in the know.
Here's where we're,
There's a link.
There's a link.
okay. So what should we do about this?
Read it and memorize it.
Okay. Right, okay.
Yes.
Now, so the strategic plan kind of reflects everything that the council tries to accomplish, right? You know, the concern. We should fix the variance. There you go.
Wrap this up.
Anyway, we're gonna have to, we're gonna adjourn, we're adjourning the meeting at 11:40.
10:43.
10:43, sorry, 10:43.
Okay, I'm gonna close the Zoom.
Okay,
Thank you, Natasha.
all right, thank you.